Welcome back, everyone, for another super special bonus live episode of the Higher Ed Geek podcast, recorded here at EDUCAUSE in Nashville. So exciting conversation here with Justin from StarRez. So bringing kind of the tech perspective to the residential student experience, which is near and dear to my heart as a former RA back in the day. So excited for this conversation. If you want to kick us off, Justin, to kind of just introduce your background and briefly explain the work that StarRez does.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me here and look forward to the conversation. My name's Justin Price. I am the VP for Global Customer Experience at StarRez. Been with the company about 13 years. Prior to that, I had 20 years in higher education housing. So I'm a housing guy who's transitioned to the ed tech world. Worked at a number of schools, Boston College, University of Denver, and a variety of different roles. So really bring a unique perspective to what we do at StarRez, having known kind of how everything works on campus. StarRez, we're about a 30-year-old company. We've been around for a long time. It was a family business, started in Melbourne, Australia, and really captured that market and then ventured over to the U.S. and have been working here for quite a while. You know, we offer a complete platform for housing operations, residential experience. We offer conference and events for our summer folks. And we recently acquired a product called College Pads. So we now offer off-campus listings. So we're trying to help the student throughout their whole experience, living on and off campus. Our on-campus product, covers everything from applying for housing, choosing a roommate, paying for housing, maintenance, doing inventory inspections. We do front desk operations, things like packages. So really a complete software package for that residential experience. And again, really trying to help with the off-campus experience. Where CollegePad helps out is it allows the college and university to actually track where students are living off campus. That's a big miss right now where students go off campus and nobody knows where they are. Emergencies happen and we'll have that information in our database where they can find those students very quickly. So yeah, again, really excited to be here.
Yeah, that's really interesting stuff, and we'll kind of dig in a little bit more with it. But if you want to just also kind of give a snapshot about StarRez, you and your team being here at EDUCAUSE, sort of like how you all are showing up, like how you all are kind of engaging with the community this year.
Yeah. So this is a really important conference for us. We're really the only ones in our space that come. A lot of it is talking with our IT partners at the university. When we interface with a lot of our customers, it's assistant directors, those folks. But we really want to make sure that we're getting in touch with our IT folks and really having the conversation about what's important to them. Right now, top of mind is AI and data security. So really spending some time having those conversations. It's also a really good opportunity for us to see potential partners. There's a lot of newness in the space and new companies coming out, and being able to engage one-on-one is so important in this type of space. And then we can engage with partners, like Anthology, or our big one with Illusion. We've got folks that we work very closely with here, so it's great to see them.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's just like a nice to see as kind of a through line is that idea of like this being kind of this convening of all the ed tech companies where like you all do kind of have to play nice with each other, like in a lot of ways. So like that idea of this being a way for that to sort of blossom as much as, with institutional partners and stuff too. So I think I'm curious from your perspective though, like, because you're mentioning the dynamics of like, on campus and off campus, sort of like trying to like, have those be less sort of like artificially kind of separate thing. Like they are still your students. You would presumably like to know, where they are and stuff. Like anything like around like, how today's residential students are different from years past. So like, I'm curious, I guess maybe like that idea of like the idea of it being off campus is not so much where it feels like it's like a island miles away or whatever. It's like, you're probably still like right in the neighborhood or whatever, so like, I don't know if that's sort of a dynamic that's kind of changing or anything else, just sort of, from your perspective of like kind of how the residential student experience has changed recently.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got a senior in high school, so I'm starting to look at this from a much different perspective and kind of what her needs are. Students and parents, first and foremost, want lots of information. How they consume it is different. There's lots of different ways of communicating with our students coming in. But they really, from the starting point, want to be able to have a seamless experience applying for housing. How am I applying? What is the room selection process like? A lot of our schools are doing a self-selection with first-year students where they're selecting their own room space, they're selecting their roommate. If you remember, probably back in your day, it was a spreadsheet and 2 weeks of paper and pencil and moving people's around. And the students want that opportunity. And they also want to interface without talking to anybody. So as much information as we can provide in a portal, we get requests for things like, what's the drawer size so I can put drawer paper in? What's the bookshelf size really providing as much as we can. The move-in experience has changed a lot too. We do everything as digital as we can. A lot of our schools will provide QR codes, those things for check-in. A lot of schools are doing central check-in. So really kind of a concierge service as well. Parents and students are asking for a lot. When it comes to that on-campus to off-campus transition, historically it was just go find housing. I lived in Boston for a long time, and it was, you've got 80 some odd schools in a 5 mile radius, and everybody's fighting for housing. So one of the things that we provide that really enhances experience is actual housing fairs where students can come in and meet housing providers. Some of them are giant PBSAs like ACC and those types. Some of them are, landlords that have 3 or 4 buildings, and really giving that experience to actually meet the folks, see what's going on, and really, really have that. And parents are expecting that level of service. That you take care of our child on campus and off. And I think that's a really important model to have in place, that when we run out of housing, because a lot of our schools are, to say, hey, we understand you didn't get housing on campus, but why don't you come to this housing fair this next week and we'll make sure you get set up off campus.
Yeah, I think that is such a powerful sentiment of it not just feeling like such a like free for all of
Mhm.
like, and it feeling still like you're a part of the campus community, whether you're living on or off. And you know, obviously there's going to be dynamics that are sort of like beneficial, or I guess it's like there's pros and cons to both. I guess, not having to be like too sort of polarized or whatever, lack of a better term. But so I think those are all really interesting dynamics of, yeah, I mean, the undercurrent of just service,
Mhm.
like just being responsive and supportive and accessible and all those sort of things. So I'm curious if, I'll kind of try to combine like these next two questions, but the idea of like, the challenges that are sort of implicit in all those sort of like dynamics that you were outlining, and how you feel like, because you were, kind of capturing like StarRez being like this unified platform. I think that is sort of like a lot of what we're talking about in these episodes here at EDUCAUSE is around kind of like interoperability and sort of
Mhm.
like how you're kind of managing your tech stack and stuff. So like try to, capture the challenges and how you're seeing sort of like the work that you're doing with institutions sort of really helping to address those challenges and
Yeah.
having this like unified platform.
It's something I've seen for a while. I think part of the challenge right now that schools are feeling is data and where it's coming from and how to access it in a meaningful way. When our customers are looking at their tech stack, it is how can we get as much into one product as possible that makes sense and works for us, because then we have that data in one place. Some of that is, it works really well to be able to search a student, know what kind of programs they've gone to, have they swiped their cards for a meal plan into a building. So I think that their customers are moving towards, and we're seeing it with our own customers, trying to unify into one platform. We've invested a lot in our Res Life suite, our front desk, our conferencing events to give that seamless experience with that. I think the other thing is with a lot of our customers, and it's interesting, I gave a presentation at the NASPA AVP conference last year, just talking about, do you know your tech stack? Do you know what each of your different departments has? Because a lot of them probably have very similar products and using them very similar ways and paying for it. The other thing, it really comes down to data security. I think, for housing folks, for student affairs professionals, it's top of mind, but they don't always know what to ask. They don't know, what are the certifications? What are the qualifications to be, a SOC 2 and have that level of data security? And there's a lot of products out there who do a good job. I think it's really important to take it to that next level. And it's one of the things that we are hyper focused on, especially with, AI coming on board, on how data is being used and where it's going.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, it's just like that idea of like the unified platform at least just like makes that easier.
Mhm.
The idea of like, okay, we have all this data, how are we sort of harnessing it and sort of, monitoring things and, you know, I guess being more proactive when there's like things that you can maybe, provide support to
Mhm.
students or just like kind of inform, your strategy or whatever else in terms of like, because I think like for me, like you might do a lot of like, surveys or this or that and like get input, and like the idea of that is all well and good and has its place, but like the behavior is more
Mhm.
telling. So if you can like look at the data around like, demand for certain types of housing or like the time that people access,
Yep.
like the dining hall, like all those sort of things, if it's like, obviously just all in one place, it's gonna be easier to sort of interface with and stuff. But yeah, because I think especially the residential student experience, I think is such a unique space because it is just like it is a bunch of humans just living
Yeah.
their lives and like whatever they're doing and you want to just kind of be kind of aware of like the trends and behavior and stuff like that
Mhm.
and just sort of be responsive to that. So Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. And I guess if there is anything that you are just like excited about with your work, like if there's like new initiatives or new things, new products or anything that you want to kind of take a moment to highlight, but just sort of like, what are you looking forward to in your work over like the next year or so?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate enough where a lot of my work is directly with customers, and finding out how their experience is using our product, how we can enhance it, but also trying to figure out what's coming. We need to be top of mind on what our customers need. And some of the trends that are coming. AI has been a big initiative. I know I've mentioned it a few times. And I think it's, just even here at the conference, you walk into the exhibit area and it's AI. And, it means a lot of different things to a lot of people. We started off very simple with adding AI to our email. And, it's not a super imaginative thing. It's an important one. It's really important that our customers can create emails. And, again, somebody who worked in housing, any email that goes out is going to have confidential and private information in it.
Hmm.
So we cannot throw that into a chat GPT and say, create an email. You need to have it in a safe space that you can pull in data from our system. Our big area is looking at analytics and data, being able to look at historical trends. One of the things that I think is important for us to think about is housing professionals are there for the students. They're there to take care of the students, but they're also a business. These are huge operations that bring in millions of dollars that need to be managed well. And there's a lot of requirements for data trends on historical data. What does our occupancy look like? How many applications have we had? How many people that applied for the university applied for housing? Those are huge trigger numbers that they're likely coming. So that data needs to go both ways. We're also looking at it, and we've got a module called Res 360 where we can do some AI into it, ask questions, and it'll pull the data and put it right in front of us about that student. So, again, how many programs, how many times have they changed rooms, how many times have their parents called, and really hyper focus on that student. And one of the things that we've introduced is we have a way of showing how that was generated within our system because a lot of customers are still, okay, AI, where's the data going? It all stays within StarRez, and we're going to show you how we found it and where it came from. So it's very transparent. And hopefully will make our customers feel good. I would say right now, part of the other thing that's going on is just uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty in higher ed. There's a lot of questions about research dollars, about money coming in. So schools are looking for ways to cut back on costs and increase, their income coming in. And a lot of that's with conference and events. We've got these customers that have beautiful buildings and great towns and cities that have the ability to offer an experience for non-students. And a lot of them are actually turning, we have a product called Short Stay. So it's almost like a hotel where you can go on housing and we go interface with OTAs like booking.com. So I could go on, see Vanderbilt University down the street. Can I stay there for 2 nights? What's the price? And book it on booking.com. So really trying to expand what we offer really to meet the customer needs.
Yeah, that's really interesting stuff. And I think, yeah, just that idea of, you know, these revenue generating kind of arms of the institution, like, the residential buildings and everything. Like, yeah, just like managing them as the revenue generating
Yeah.
things that they are, like being really clear on, yeah, the demand and like forecasting things or just, yeah, how you're managing those spaces for the variety of purposes and stuff like that, I think are all really interesting things. I think, yeah, those dynamics, the moment is going to force, I think, just the
Absolutely.
like even better kind of management and tools and stuff and how folks are kind of approaching this work. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And I think giving folks like the final word, any final words of advice or calls to action and things, to end the episode and wrap everything up.
I empathetic with our community. It's been a rough 4 or 5 years. Obviously, COVID, working in a housing environment, the fact that you're still on campus, you're required to be there, rolling out from that, and now we're heading towards some of the enrollment cliff coming. It's here. I don't think it's necessarily a cliff as much of a ramp. That housing is more important than ever. Being able to offer amenities that students like, that parents like, it's a real decision maker. And that notion of the old dormitory that nobody's touched in 50 years, there's no air conditioning. And then coming into a lot of uncertainty right now, not being able to hire, travel freezes, stuff like that. So we really want to be able to meet our customers where they're at. And it's really important to us. And, some of the things that we're coming out with tools that to make life easier, make communications with students easier. We're launching a StarRez texting. We already have it in place, but to have it built in, we found again, students just don't read read email. So how can we communicate? So I think it's really important to us, but also providing, one of the things I'm most proud of is our customer support. And we provide real-time support and really know where our customers are at. And one of the things, I have to tell this story on my journey at StarRez. When I first came in, there were one or two other people that had ever worked in higher ed. And as you know, as an RA, it's a different world. You can't learn it, you have to experience it. And we made a real conscious decision to start hiring folks from the housing world. They come in with the work ethic, the understanding. So when they get on a phone with a customer and they say, "Hey, my application's down," they understand the importance of that. Or they say, "Hey, I need to get some information on this student. Can you help out?" So really doing that. But I think just the overall message for us is the unified platform gives you a lot of power. The data that you have there, the ability to track things, the ability to train in one software helps out with that. And we've taken on some other companies and learned and taken what they provide. We also work with Seattle Tech Group with a product called Iris that we acquired and really learned how they were doing things well so we could expand it into our product as well. So that's really important. And I think just the last thing for us is, if you're out in the world, take a look. Let's have a demo, ask the tough questions, what you want to know. Make sure your security team's part of it so they can dig in and find out, how we're going to protect your data. And then I think just finally, know that if you come with StarRez, you've got good people. We're here to take care of you and want to make sure that it's a great experience.
Yeah, it's great points to end on. And just like, yeah, look, you've kind of shared about, yeah, this unified platform, kind of walled garden, to kind of engage in all the different kind of dynamic ways that you need to kind of support today's learners and residential students and everything. So, yeah, this is a great conversation. Appreciate all of you shared. We'll have ways to connect with you and StarRez in the episode description. And just thank you so much for taking the time.
Dustin, I really appreciate it. Great conversation.